card trick that fooled the great Harry Houdini. In 1922, Harry Houdini was known as the world's greatest magician, the world's greatest illusionist, the world's greatest escape artist, the world's greatest mentalist, and he was also known as the king of cards. And for a good reason. He had boasted that if he saw a card trick performed 3 or 4 times, he'd always be able to figure out how it was done. And up until that point, he was successful. But at a convention in Chicago in 1922, a young and up-and-coming magician, Di Vernon, who was only 27, approached Mr. Houdini and says, "Mr. Houdini, I'd like to try and stump you with one of my card tricks." Well, Harry Houdini smiled and said, "Son, I want you to know that there's been hundreds before you that have tried to do this, and nobody's been successful." Di Vernon says, "I understand, Mr. Houdini, but I still would like to try." Houdini says, "Go for it, son." So Di Vernon says, "Mr. Houdini, I need for you to think of any card in the deck, envision it in your mind, and call it out as soon as it comes to you." And Mr. Houdini said, "5 of hearts." Di Vernon said, "5 of hearts it is, that's going to be your card." So Mr. Vernon started to go through all 52 cards, displaying the faces to Mr. Houdini, searching for his 5 of hearts, which was his chosen card. By doing this, he also was able to show Mr. Houdini that all the cards were different. When he came to the 5 of hearts, he pulled it out, but he didn't stop going through the rest of the deck. He kept going to show Mr. Houdini that all the cards were different. The remaining 51 cards did not contain any 5 of hearts. And that's very important to this trick. I believe he also had Mr. Houdini sign his initials HH on the 5 of hearts, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want to ruin a deck of cards. Now, Di Vernon says, "I'm going to begin the trick." And he did by taking Harry Houdini's 5 of hearts and placing it in the second position in the deck and sliding it in. Just like that. And in front of Mr. Houdini, he just took the deck, dropped it like that, snapped his fingers, and Harry Houdini's 5 of hearts came back to the top of the deck. Well, this happened really quickly, and Harry Houdini was a little stunned. He wasn't really paying close attention. So he says, "Mr. Vernon, that was pretty good, but I need to see you do that again." So Mr. Vernon says, "Of course, Mr. Houdini." And he showed him his 5 of hearts again, and he did the same exact thing. He put it in the second position, okay, pushed it in, squared it up, just dropped the deck, just like that in front of Mr. Houdini, snapped his fingers, and he picked up the top card, and it was the 5 of hearts again. Harry Houdini's card had risen to the top of the deck. Now Harry Houdini was paying close attention because he had been fooled twice, okay? He said, "I need to see you do it again." He says, "Well, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it a totally different way." So he took out Harry Houdini's 5 of hearts and he placed it off to the side, okay? And then he spread out the cards just like this. And he said, "Mr. Houdini, I need you to take your 5 of hearts," which Mr. Houdini searched back and front, "and I want you to place it in face down anywhere you want in the deck." And Harry Houdini thought that was pretty fair, and he stuck it in somewhere in the middle of the deck. And Di Vernon took the rest of the deck and did what he did the past 2 times. He just dropped it right in front of Mr. Houdini, snapped his fingers, and once again, Harry Houdini's 5 of hearts came back to the top of the deck. Well, now Harry Houdini was fooled 3 times in a row. And Harry Houdini said, "Well, if you fool me one more time, I'll admit that you fooled the great Harry Houdini." So, Di Vernon put his 5 of hearts, and show it to you again, put his 5 of hearts on top of the deck. This time he did the trick a totally different way. He took the 5 of hearts and he bent it, almost in half, but he put like a crease in it, okay? And placed that card on the top of the deck and showed it to Harry Houdini that the card was bent on the top of the deck. He then cut the deck in half, took Houdini's 5 of hearts, okay, and placed it in the middle of the deck, okay? And he showed him that it was indeed the 5 of hearts that he bent and put in the middle of the deck. He put the rest of the deck on top, and just like he had done 4 previous times in the past, he just took the deck, dropped it, and lo and behold, one card popped up on the top of the deck, and it was bent. And guess what card it was? To Harry Houdini's amazement, it was the 5 of hearts. Once again, he had been fooled 4 times in a row. And from that day on, Guy Vernon was able to boast himself as the only magician who had fooled the great Harry Houdini. Hope you enjoyed it.